Those who are strong are to support the weak. And we find that in Romans chapter 15 and verse 1, which was read as our scripture this morning. And when that scripture reads, we then that are strong ought to bear infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Amen. Those who are spiritual are to help those to overcome their faults. And we can find that in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. It is part of the law of Christ that we bear our own cross. And we must also lend a helping hand to those who also have burdens. There be times when I can't take everything by myself. Right. I know in this audience here at Church Road Church of Christ, I have many that I can call and they can help me. And they would be willing to not only take on their cross, but help me lift my own cross until I'm strong enough to carry it by myself. At the same time, we have the responsibility to become strong. We can't always depend and lean on everyone to help us with everything. I kind of thought back to when we used to lift weights in football. You always had that one person that would spot you. Right. Naturally, they wouldn't spot you for your first couple of sets because you had the energy to finish out. But as time goes on, you get weaker and you get weaker. But you're also building yourself up. Right. That person's there to help you lift that burden. Right. And that's how we as Christians are to work out with one another spiritually. Each Christian has, as I said, has a responsibility to bear his own load. And we can find that in Galatians chapter 6, verses 4 through 5. Galatians chapter 6, verses 4 through 5. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. So we will be held accountable for our own burden. We have to strengthen one another. We have to work with one another, but we also have to have that ability to work by ourselves. Just like in football, Coach said, go home and do some push-ups. You don't need nobody to spot you when you do push-ups. If you get too tired, just lay on the floor. I've been there. You do your sit-ups. Just lay on your back so it's time to get back up. But we have to learn how to work ourselves sometimes. But when it does get too heavy, we can always reach out to somebody else that will be able to help us in our time of need. And as we said, we'll be held accountable for our own actions. In Romans chapter 14 and verse 12, we can find an example. And that's Romans chapter 14 and verse 12. So then, every one of us shall give account of himself to God. So we all know that when we go to heaven, or when we come to judgment day, I have to give accountability for everything that I did. I can't turn around and say, but Courtney did this. He did something similar to this. I'm not accountable for what Courtney did. I'm accountable for my own actions. Did I take that time to strengthen myself? Did I take that time to work on myself, by myself, so that I can lend that helping hand to somebody else that may need help with their family? It is thus our responsibility to pick ourselves up as well. We can find that in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 12 through 13. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 12 through 13. Wherefore, lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees. They make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is of lame be turned out of the way. But let it rather be healed. Some Christians never seem to progress, and they always want their support from somebody else. So today, we're just going to reach deep down in ourselves and say, hey, am I that person? Am I high maintenance? Do I need all of the attention from everyone else? Sometimes they remain very dependent upon their brethren. Unless constantly nurtured by brethren, they fall away and become apathetic. Such Christians are what might be described as vernacular as high maintenance. What is high maintenance? We've got a couple of examples. As used in everyday speech, it refers to the need for a lot of attention, required to maintain something in good order, requiring a lot of time, energy, or money. Any person or thing that requires a lot of attention. Let's think about cars that require a lot of work just to keep them on the road. Let's think about employees that require a lot of attention from a supervisor just to get their job done. Let's think about significant others that require a lot of gifts or dates or they lose interest in what they have. Next, when talking about Christians, Christians are high maintenance. If they require a lot of attention in order to remain faithful, if they require a lot of coddling or pampering to be active in the church, Christians that are high maintenance can also be babes in Christ. So we have to also be gentle and be careful with what we're saying. Yes, the new babes in Christ may be high maintenance because we know that the devil is out there as a wolf dressed in sheepskin or sheep's fur looking to attack. So we as those stronger Christians have to help those babes in Christ matriculate.
Right.
Slothful Christians who attend and work only when constantly prodded, openly prodded. So that means somebody has to come to you and say, hey, we need this done, we have to have this done. I have to continuously push you. I have to continuously push you when we know with working with Christ, we're to step back and say, hey, I need to get this done. I need to help Brother Griffin. I need to help Courtney.
Right.
So why do we have to be poked and prodded until we get to that point where we are saying, well, okay, I'm just going to wait till somebody comes and tells me I have an order, when we actually see that it needs to be done.
Right.
Even churches sometimes can be high maintenance.
Yeah.
The church in Corinth was definitely high maintenance. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verses 1 and 4. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 1 and 4. And it reads, and brethren, I could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal,